meeting going? If you would, please. Okay. Call the order, Madam Clerk, if you would, please. She's behind me.
Mr. President. Pledge.
Oh, take your time. I'm having trouble getting on my computer.
We're waiting for Uden. I mean, the first item is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, it's called the order first.
Yeah.
Oh, so I called the order. I thought it was, then you were gonna. Okay. I'm close to getting back to this process. Okay, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll lead that and then we'll have Vice President Schaefer. Put your hand over your heart and follow me, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
While you're standing, if you'd please take a moment to reflect and ask that please watch over the procedures and guide the decision makers this evening. Please ensure that decisions may benefit the majority of the community as much as possible. Please watch over those who are in need of your help this evening. We ask in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, now we do the roll call. Yeah, that was just practice.
Director Brett Eccles,
Here.
Director Arthur Perry.
Here.
Secretary Arlene Schaefer, Vice President Mike Schaefer,
Here.
President Robert Uten.
Present.
Yeah.
Are there any late communications?
No, Mr. President.
Okay, and there are no ceremonial matters or presentations, so skip on down to public comments. I have one here from you, Jim, and you want to speak on C10 and F2? Okay, so we'll go on down to the consent calendar.
I'll move for approval.
Mr. President, I'd like to pull one item,
Which one?
number 11 for a question.
Mr. Moser wants to speak on C10, so can I get a motion for the balance?
So moved.
Oh, I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or any absences? Director Eccles, what is your question on item 11?
Yeah, so my question is, it says this amount it's budgeted, but then as I read through the report, I got a little confused. So can you explain I think it was 1,200 thereabouts for the donation?
Yes, Director Eccles. So when it says it's budgeted, it's referring to the $8,000 that we've included in our budget for all sponsorships.
Okay.
It does still need to be approved by the board, but the money is there, and I believe there is currently 5,500 remaining in that budget.
Okay, and then as a follow-up, so this is basically a sponsorship for us to have, I call it a booth, a canopy presence out at this deal.
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you very much, and I'll move for approval on that item.
All in favor of item
I'll second.
11? Okay, all in favor for item 11?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Jim, you wanted to speak on item number C10? Oh,
Thank you. Thank you, President Uten. I did want to comment on, you already approved it. The comment doesn't affect your approval. Item C10 is a recurring item that appears on every regular meeting agenda called the Receive and File the Monthly Solid Waste Diversion Report. And I was just going to suggest that the staff may consider refreshing the analysis section of this, because the analysis seems to be from a couple of years ago. This diversion report used to indicate, it used to give an estimate of how much of the mixed waste was being diverted from the landfill. Currently, it's just reporting the total amount of mixed waste without any indication of where it might be going and the amount of organic waste that is collected. That is fine. The analysis, though, is giving the public the impression that CRNR is not recycling or diverting any of that mixed waste because it's calling attention. It says due to COVID-19 that their material recovery facility was not operating during some months in 2020. So that probably needs to be updated a little bit to explain why the report is not indicating the amount of diversion now, because I assume that they are recycling. I myself, though, in the past found the report not entirely meaningful because this tonnage of mixed waste that is being reported, it was just being multiplied by percentages that had been determined in one characterization of one route from some years previously. And so every month it looked like the same amount of stuff was being diverted, whether it was or not. So the analysis needs to be refreshed. And I don't know if there's any way to improve actually the information of how much is being diverted currently. So those are my comments.
Thank you,
But
Jim.
the report is accurate, I assume, as submitted. Thank you.
Just a question to staff and maybe to Mike. After the implementation of the lack of term, the blue card, won't this report be changed? I mean, it's going to be a little more finite. We'll know more about what's going into the recyclables. Okay, so I don't have an issue with what Mr. Mosher is saying. I think more information is always better. But to change, well, I don't know if we want to change it until we get the new cart is what I'm getting at.
Well, we can address Mr. Mosher's concerns that it is legitimate that we need to update the analysis. If we're still
Yeah.
saying, it's not being diverted because of COVID-19, that's not true. So he's correct. We need to go back and refresh that. As far as when we do roll out the blue cards, yes, we will have to redo the staff report.
Okay.
present a new staff report.
Okay. Great.
Could that be done at the study session, that report?
Sure.
I mean, I'm just a thought.
Yeah, I think it was partly because of the data, the data not being in time transmitted from CRNR. It used to be a report where we had the percentage version. And then I know that for a while there was, CRNR had some issue about how to report that. Mike, you might go back and check that out and figure out if we can get an idea. I know the diversion numbers are going to be significantly lower than around the lower 60s that we diverted in the past, because of some of the changes. But I've had the same questions myself. Did you?
I was just gonna follow up, and if we could maybe take those comments and update it going forward with those corrections, and we'll be good to go.
Okay. Going down,
I think we need a motion to approve
Oh.
item 10.
well, I think that we already did.
Well, we went a little out of order, so we might want to do it again.
Okay.
Say-
Yeah,
I'll move approval, consent calendar item number 10.
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So Mr. Mosher stands corrected that we already did that. I'm sorry, Jim, doesn't make any difference. Okay, I don't believe we have a public hearing slated for tonight, so we'll go on down to item E, which is general manager's reports. And that's a discussion of the logistics and outreach plan for Costa Mesa's transition to the 3-cart system. Scott, are you gonna?
Yes, thank you. And so this item was discussed by the district solid waste ad hoc committee on July 26th. And it was a discussion about the proposed logistics and outreach plan for transitioning to a 3-cart source separating solid waste collection program to comply with the SB 1383. As you see in the analysis, the tentative timeline, right now, CRNR is currently conducting an audit of all the carts out in the field, to determine how many people have more than 2 carts. They have like a 3rd cart, and then they will compare that with their data to ensure that they're being charged properly. If they're not being charged, then they'll be notified. If you want to, you can still keep this cart, but we're going to charge you $8 a month. If you don't want it, then return the cart for it back to us. So we might see an increase, a small increase in revenues, depending if people want to keep their third cart. So that's ongoing as that's starting as we speak. And then in November, December of later this year, the plan is to roll out the organics recycling carts to those homes that have been exempt. And as those you might recall, before we rolled out the organics program, we said you can be exempt from this program if you don't have any space to store your organic carts, or maybe it's just a single person at home that does not accumulate a lot of food waste. And so there were some criteria to be eligible for those exemptions, and as a result, we do have 2,000 homes that are currently exempt. Unfortunately, according to the Calorie Cycle, they will not approve any exemptions under SB 1383. So that means these homes have to receive an organic cart. So in November, December, the plan is to notify those homeowners that they will be getting organic carts. And then I envision once
They'll
those
be
carts,
getting a recycled cart.
recycled the organic cart, not blue cart, but organic cart, the organic green cart.
You're talking about the 2,000 people.
Yes, that'll be the green card, yes. And so I envision there's still gonna be some pushback from those homeowners, specifically maybe space. So that's where we'd have to send our code enforcement officer to try to come up with a compromise where we believe it's acceptable, where they can store their carts. So that's still on schedule. And then you'll see later down further in the staff report, we're showing that in January and March, we'll start doing the education outreach for the blue cart, and describing, what goes in the blue cart and why we're doing that. And then you see that we originally, when we shared this with the Solid Waste Ad Hoc Committee, we said that we were going to deliver the blue carts in March and June. After that meeting, we had more discussion. We believe those blue carts should be delivered in June, because our concern is that if they're delivered in March, they're not going to start using those carts. They're not going to be emptied. And then we're going to start getting calls saying, hey, why was my blue cart empty? Right. So our thing, well, let's roll it all out in June, and then we'd start it in July of 2023. That's the plan that we presented to the ad hoc committee. Now, since then, there has been some discussion with CNR, possibility, and we can bring this back to the board for a study session meeting, postponing the blue cart implementation. According to SB 1383, we don't legally have to begin the three-cart system until January 2025. And so maybe the discussion is, do we want to expand the delivery, implement the program in January 2025? And that way it'll achieve two things. One, we can do more. It gives us more time to outreach. Always a good thing to have more time for outreach. Secondly, this would require a rate increase. By then, maybe we can see by 2025, everyone else is going to start increasing the rates because of 13.3. Then we can get a better idea. Okay, when we raise our rates, hopefully we'll be more in the middle and not on the high end. So that's an option to consider. So that's for you to consider tonight. If you want to, we can always have that discussion. If you want to expand that to expand the implementation of Blue Card to January 2025, or we can just continue as is, as we proposed the Solid Waste Ad Hoc Committee. So happy to answer any questions you may have. Again, this is just for discussion tonight and just the recent direction from the board.
Okay. On the blue cart and the food waste cart, do they come in 35 gallons?
They can, yes.
Okay, because I'm just thinking about myself.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
they do. Okay. And they'll take away one of the mixed waste carts if I have to.
Correct. They'll take away one of the mixed cards, replace that with blue card. Correct.
What is the cost for additional weight, 35 gallon
Well,
mixed cart?
the cost is going to be the same as if it was a 65 or 90 gallon. There's no cost differentiate. So it's right now we're looking at $24.08 an increase for CRNR.
Is that per month or quarter?
Yeah, per month.
Per month.
Per month,
Okay.
yes. That does not include overhead, so we have to calculate what our overhead is going to be on that. So it might be a little bit higher than that. So right now I've got finance crunch the numbers, and so we can come back with some definitive numbers and proceed, and then seek your direction.
I got one last question. Did the committee did they have a plan for extending it to 2025?
The CNR has made that discussion to us. that
I mean,
they're okay.
our committee, okay.
Yeah, they're all right doing that. In fact, yes, that was one of the suggestions.
Thank you, Mr. President. So follow up on Director Perry's comments. So they're going to come out, take away one of the, and if a resident so chose, they may not need it, but so chose, could they get a 90 at the same deal as they've got right now? If they still got their green and all that, they could get a 90?
Yes, they could if they want to.
And what's the additional charge then?
There will be no additional charge.
Okay.
Or if they currently have a 60 gallon and they say, I want to go to 90 gallon, it's still just that one cart,
Okay.
no charge, no additional charge.
Okay, and then the rate bump, I don't know if you've got this tonight, and I probably could have found it myself, but what's our current rate? What's it going proposed from to?
Give me 1 second and I can pull that up on right now. Okay, so right now our rate is $22.74 a month.
Okay.
Again, we have a 5-year rate increase. It's going to go again. It's going to increase again in July 2023 to 2410. That includes our overhead. Now, what CNR proposed at 2408 does not include our overhead, so we have to include that in there as well.
So,
We're looking around maybe that $26 range.
okay, so call it a $4 bump. Now, if we went with the plan of postponing the blue till 2025, what does that do with the rate?
That's a discussion I'll have to have with CNR. Hopefully we can, they can keep the rate at 2408, and then we'll wait and just see how all the other cities are increasing their rates. Because they're gonna be increasing their rates over time, and we keep our rates stable.
No, I think Director's question was, are we still in the 5-year?
Yes, we're still, so the 22, so in July 2023 will be our 5th year, 5-year rate increase. Okay, and that goes from July of 2023 to June of 2024. So maybe that next fiscal year, or at least the first 6 months, we'd keep that rate at 2410. And then we do a rate increase in 2025, the early part of 2025.
Okay, so if we postpone this, again, forget the overhead for a second. We're currently at 22, we would not jump to 24 then, if we postpone this.
No, we're still gonna go to 2410 because we already had a 5-year rating.
Okay,
But still gonna go to 2410 on July 1st.
because the previous
Correct.
5-year, but we're not gonna get tacked on the additional in
For the SB
negotiation.
1383, no, we're not.
Okay, so in essence, we wouldn't have a rate change that wasn't already previously approved and all that if we delayed. And can you just, so 1383 allows district cities to finally roll the complete package to 2025. So we'd be in complete compliance.
In district, we're in compliance right now. So just to
Okay.
sure, we are in compliance right now.
Okay.
Go to the 3-card system, we have till 2025 to do that.
So
I'm forced separating. 'Cause
Okay.
Under 1383, you can be in compliance with the mixed waste like we are right now. The problem is that you have to take it to high diversion facilities, and none of the haulers are going to do that. It's too expensive. So that's why they're saying until 2025. If you're not going to take it to a high diversion facility, then you got to go to the 3-card system.
And then I guess question more for Mike, or in all your discussion, is that CRR's preference to wait till 25 or?
I don't know if it's a preference, but it was just a suggestion they
Okay.
put it out
Okay. My opinion would be that would be something I think we should bring back to this body and really look at that, because we've got a rate increase coming no matter what. It's going to be tough enough with everything, so maybe we delay at least the final piece to the puzzle, but
there. Maybe we bring it back to the solid waste ad hoc committee. And then we
Yeah.
bring it to the study session.
that would be my suggestion. But at this point, thank you.
You have a question? Right.
Just a couple things. CRNR going to have the trucks ready to go for, if we decide to stick with the plan as it is, will CRNR have the trucks available to do the blue?
We will. We placed orders for cross moving forward.
I'm still thinking moving out to 2025 might be the most desirable option. Change gears a little bit. on that November 2022 to December 2022 rollout of organic recycling carts. So everybody who has an exemption is gonna have to bite the bullet and take a green card. Does that include multifamily?
If there are customers of ours, yes.
Small multifamily.
If they,
Give you an example, Monticello townhomes. There are 1 billion townhomes in there. I happen to have a family member who lives in there. And when you open his garage, he's got 2 small cans. He's got no other place to put it. He's gonna lose 1 can that he uses, because my granddaughters have a lot of crap that they throw away. And he's gonna have to have an organics cart there.
we can give them, like I said, a 35-gallon cart, for put the food waste in.
And obviously, I'm projecting this on the people who passed 1383. What the heck? What were they thinking? I mean, there's no exemption for people. They don't have any yard.
Oh, they still technically have to recycle food scraps.
They're gonna have food scraps, and that can won't be filled for a month. And it's gonna sit in that garage. It just blows my mind that. Of course, it's the state legislature, so what do you expect? But you know what I mean, Scott? This is,
It's gonna be a challenge.
yeah. So he can still keep his 2 mixed waste cans, but he'll have a 3rd and a 4th can now.
Well, no, he'll just have a 3rd cart. He'll have like a 3rd 35-gallon.
Yeah, But eventually he's gonna have 4 carts.
No, he'll still have 3 because he'll have to.
Oh, because that's right. I beg your pardon. We have to remove,
Unless he
yes.
pays.
unless he pays for it. Okay. Would you mind writing the letter to tell him that? So that daddy doesn't have to tell him that?
We're gonna notify these people that they're gonna get the can in enough time for them to realize it.
Yes, it's not, hopefully they won't be surprised. There's gonna, oh, surprise, here's your card. We'll get them notifications, be on the heads up. This is.
And then pick up with the second big can of the mixed waste card. We're gonna have to notify those.
Yes.
Because they're gonna be shocked,
That's gonna be the larger outreach, because that's gonna be facing everyone.
you know.
As we move towards,
That's why I think it might be in our benefits to delay it, because again, it's taking more time just to get out there.
it's making a lot more sense.
Well, and he can maybe build a different garage.
Yeah, I'm sure his homeowners association will go for that.
We're gonna have to change our.
ADU for trash.
To the ordinance. We have
Change
to-
our ordinance.
Yes, let them in the ordinance. Absolutely, yes, we would definitely. have them in the ordinance. And we knew that going in.
And as we're moving more towards this, if you could bring an item to the ad hoc committee about, and maybe we can get Sarah and ours help. I mean, Santa Margarita, these other cities that have the 4 carts now. They always had 4 carts. They didn't transition like we're doing, correct?
I'd say 95% of the cities already have 3 cards.
Yeah, I'd be curious if we could get any kind
I
of
think Santa
feedback.
Margarita is the exception.
I was gonna point out Newport Beach, but if we could get any kind of input on for experience from you guys, what you're hearing from the residents, so that we have that we know how the putt's gonna go, you know what I mean? Yeah, I know you would, Mike, and if we could have, Scott, if we can get some of that to the ad hoc, just so that we were a little better prepared for this change. That's why we get the big bucks.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. A follow up to Vice President Schaefer. It's making me sick, but a realistic question, because I've seen it. And in Vice President Schaefer's instance, what's the plan? Because we're gonna have that all, you can't just stack up trash in people's garages because they have no side yard, they have no anything. And at the end of the day, what's the city trying to do? Get cars off the street. So are we gonna ask our ratepayers to take their car out of their garage so they could store more trash, put it on the street, have the city yell at them? I mean, this thing's, and I made the mistake of actually reading an article in the LA Times recently that LA is so far behind, they're never gonna be able to roll this out. I mean, what are the ultimate consequences here?
Well, the real problem is it's not the State Water Resource Control Board that's in charge, it's the state Air Resources Board, and they're not bashful about fines, whereas the regional board, I can't remember the last time that they imposed, whatever penalties were in the law.
But, okay, so as a follow-up though, so enforcement goes to the Schaefer household and goes, here's your third card or your second card, we're gonna do all this. What is there, do they have a role in saying, well, okay, we'll find a spot on your property? Because what if the property owner says, well, where?
And that's what I said, that's where our code enforcement officer and also like CRNR is gonna come in and help and find a compromise, because as you know, we have an ordinance in place that forbids people to store carts in public view.
Alright.
So I think we want to come back to the board and get direction from the board to amend that code to give staff some discretion on what we consider public view.
Yep.
So that will give our code enforcement officer and CNR some leeway. Okay, you could put it here on the side of the house. Yes, it's still in public view, but we understand that's going to be the only logical place you can store your cart. We're okay with that. So there's going to be some compromising here with.
So I think in part of this timeline, that idea right there is exactly something we need to do before we start rolling this out. I mean, whatever those ideas are, I just think we need to, those things are gonna be so common. And again, I see it in Newport all the time. It's common down there and yeah. So maybe we could incorporate some of those, change ordinances, any other ideas to help the homeowners, because it's gonna be tough, but thank you.
Yeah. I
And
think,
Mr. President, just to further round out the discussion, necessity is a defense to a criminal prosecution and probably to a civil fine too. So if truly you have no other option, you won't be found guilty. But I mean, to say you have no other solution is a big stretch. So you really have to prove that. You couldn't, move something, rearrange something, throw something away. Anyway, if you have no other option, you have a defense to a criminal prosecution.
okay, that's good. So the idea is to bring this back to this next study session and the ad hoc committee.
Yes, so my is to bring your first ad hoc committee first, then to the study session.
Yeah,
I think we've got one scheduled up, ad hoc committee scheduled up in September. So we got one scheduled already.
half of the communities, half of the community is in multifamily housing, and we have a portion of that. So I'd be interested in,
Very small percentage, but we do serve some multifamily units. Yes, that's true.
yeah. And I saw those green carts being rolled out, and they weren't used in the multifamily housing that I used to walk up and down the alleys, going to coffee. I never would go just to look. But I did open some carts. And actually, some of the green carts were stolen. And I saw the guy that was taking them away and turned it in to the police and or the district. And I mean, there's gonna be all kinds of questions. And then it does sound, I think we can get our act together as best we can, but we are gonna need a lot of discussion. The recommendation on this item is to receive and file this report. So it doesn't require that we take action.
And I have your direction.
Yeah.
We're not picking on you guys. It's just somewhere up in the ethos. We had some people that make some mistakes, right?
Well, I think, people have been, several staff and or others have referred to the Newport Beach experience, which did just roll that out. And I would like to, and I know Jim has made comments here on some of that experience. I would like someone from Newport Beach and or Newport Beach and CRNR about how they've gotten through this rollout. And, our counselor said, there's certainly people in Newport Beach that have less space than on Costa Mesa. And so what are they doing for them?
Thanks, Mike.
And do you attend the ad hoc committee meetings?
Oh, I guess he will be.
Yeah. You probably need to be.
Okay, if there are no further questions, I think staff and CRNR has their directions. So let's go on to the next item, which are the engineers' reports. Mark, is that you?
Yeah, thank you, President Newton. Basically, from my report, I'm going to say that there were 4 projects completed in this last period. 336, grade 4, phase 1, we completed that work.
Put names on them.
336, grade 4, phase 1, completed. Project 311, the manhole replacement cover project is completed. And project 324, the manhole refurbishment project was also completed during this last period of time. The project 328, phase 3 ductile iron pipe is almost done. That project should be completed in September. I'm going to guess that probably October we'll do completion to the board of directors.
Mark, that's not all of them. That's just the particular.
No, just the ones that finished this period.
Just the one.
I'm just talking about specifically what completed this period.
Right.
And then project 334 Geisler Force Main design was completed, although I've got it on hold right now. There's some cost issues I'm working through. And then just want to say that project 335, it's the siphon project started this month. We had a kickoff meeting, and I'm going to say that probably next week we'll get started in earnest and be working out in the roadways, starting to rehab our siphons. So that concludes my report. Are there other items you might have questions on or want to get more information on?
Just a quick thing on manholes.
Mhm.
Like I brought this up a couple of times. The city's aggressively repaving, and or slurring, whatever they do. But they did our track.
Mhm.
Do we go back and get a report from the city or the asphalt engineer as to our manholes being repaired?
We don't get a report, we get an invoice. They charge us to bring our manhole framing covers to grade. During that process, I know that we've given the city 7 or 8 manhole framing covers to replace within the state streets because some of the covers that they were raising to grade really needed to be replaced. So rather than just raise the cover to grade, we give them a new one, they put it on, and then they invoice us for raising everything to grade. So as long as we provide the materials, all we do is get charged for the raising of the manhole framing cover so that it matches the new pavement section.
Is that
That-
what that concrete ring is that are stacked on the side of my house? There's a whole bunch of concrete rings. Is that what brings them up to grade?
Potentially, I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about, but if they're donut shaped things about 4 foot in diameter or so, probably. We have 2-inch and above grade rings that we use because we don't like the contractors to use mortar to, I'll say, glue them together. We want grade rings. We don't mind a little bit of mortar, but we don't want, I'll say, just a concrete slopped in and then these things plopped in like that. We want real nice grade rings. And so our inspector is out there while the city contractor is doing their work and we check all of these things.
I think I saw Steve Cano out there the other day taking a look. So,
Yeah.
But again, these are they look more like washers than
Mike,
donuts.
it's called the collar. So once they put the manhole frame and cover in, then they either put an asphalt or concrete collar around the thing.
I just curious.
If you take a picture of what it is you're talking about, I'm happy to confirm it, but I'll bet you're talking about the grade rings.
Okay.
Other questions on my engineer's report for the month?
Mark, what I would like to see is if you do these phases, if you give me an estimate of how many siphons, linings are, how many there are, and then how many are in the particular phase. If it's 3 phases, it'd be phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. you probably know that, but it's not always in the report.
Oh, I may have actually taken that out. It was in there last month. Right now we're doing 3 of the siphons. And so I'll have to make sure I get that added back in. Somehow that dropped out of my report, President Newton.
Yeah, I think you and I have talked about that in the past. Mark used to work for me and he knows I'm a little bit anal.
Did you use euphemism a little? A little bit?
I serve at the pleasure of our general manager and the board, and I'm happy to provide any information you'd like.
Sorry, Mark. Okay, do any of the directors have questions on Mark's report? And there's a little more details, a lot more detail in the second half of that. So the next item is, adopt the November 2021 district master plan.
I think Mr. Mosier has a comment on this item as well, so
I think.
I'm looking forward to listening to his question or comment. But that being said, tonight I'm asking this board to adopt our 2018, also known as the 2020 master plan. The final plan is dated November of 21. The board received the master plan's update as early as 2015 when it first started. I think you got an update or actually 2 updates in 2018, and then there was an update in 2020. And it was brought to you for updated information to get feedback and obtain comments from this board. In addition, the master plan was taken to the Citizen Advisory Committee in 2020. I can't recall which month. It might have been September. And it's my understanding that the boards, the CAC, and any public comments were incorporated into this final draft. Since 2005 master plan, very little has really changed. There's been no substantial changes, including the land use and land densities and wastewater generation coefficients that have used. However, there are 3 items that have changed since that 2005 master plan, and that's basically ADU policies and projections. OC sanitation flows have changed, and how the district calculates our ultimate flow values changed slightly. So I'll go over those now. The ADUs information that the district uses is basically city ADU information and their projections. I will add that if every single family residential builds out and builds an ADU, the residential flow portion of our flows could increase by 20%. I don't envision that a complete build out would occur, but we must plan for it. And that's basically what we're trying to do with the city, using the city projections and their policies for ADUs. Based on the district ADU sewer permits, we're trending well below the city projections. And in fact, I think our trends are not much more than the previous year or the previous year before that, as far as permits in total, sewer permits in total. Perhaps it's the pandemic, maybe inflation, perhaps threat of recession. I don't know why the ADU permits, why they're not just coming in droves, but they're not. So I don't see this occurring, and I don't think that's going to be a big impact over the next 5, 7, 8 years, 9 years. The next thing is OC sanitation flow values have decreased back in 2015 or before. They were about 100 gallons per day per person estimates. In 2015, it was changed to 75 gallons per day per person. And now they're predicting that this year we should be around 70 gallons per day per person. Due to the age of this master plan, because it's been around quite a while, the district or the district's consultant used an average of 71 gallons per day when it was finalized back in November of 21. Why is that important? It's just an estimate of the flow that we estimate that goes to OC sanitation, and that's how we calculate that particular number. The biggest flow change, or the biggest change to this, I'll say, master plan compared to 2005, and of all the items, the 3 items that influence what the numbers are going to look like are really how the district calculates the ultimate flows. Traditionally, the districts have used the land use projection and applied them to each parcel. I'll say this carefully, to midline of the street. After further consideration, RBH applied the flow values just to the parcel and did not or excluded all acreage resulting from the roadways that they used to use, that we traditionally used to use. As a result of that, the ultimate flows have decreased by 20%, and it's actually the largest change that's affecting what we're looking at in the ultimate build out of Costa Mesa, Newport Beach, and the small amount of unincorporated county territory that we serve. That being said, the new values better match our current flows to OC sanitation. So we think the updated values are more accurate as a result of change. Again, regardless of those three changes I discussed, there's not been a lot of change to the flows and demand, and since 2005. And in fact, since there are no substantially changed items since that period of time, the I'll say expansion requirements are actually pushed off. I don't think we're going to see expansions for the next 5 years, maybe 7 years, maybe even longer. Based on this 5-year master plan, again, expansions should not be required in a new feature. Going forward, however, I do want to begin preparing the next update master plan during the 24-25 fiscal year. My goal would be to complete that by fall of 26 fiscal year. And that way the updated master plan can feed into the next wastewater rate study that's slated to come before the board in winter of 27. Master plan will be sent to each city for conformance per government code 65403. We'll be sending that out, provided it gets adopted. And I do recommend adoption of this master plan because we're going to start around in the next couple or 3 years and start updating again. So this is kind of languished for a while. So I want to get it done, get it on the shelf, and then start moving forward. This concludes my report. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Mark, with the growth, it's going to be inevitable because the state requirements and all the thousands of new units, and then city council here, recently are going to put a ballot on or a measure on the ballot in November, to tweak Measure Y. There's going to be growth in multifamily units, ADUs, who knows what north of the 405, all the new cannabis businesses. I mean, are some of those tweaks, especially with Measure Y, if it passes, the current ballot's going to tweak Measure Y significantly. Are those sorts of growth projections in here?
Yeah, whatever the city included in their growth projections and their documents, that's what we use to project our ultimate flows. As I said, we're not realizing those yet. And in fact, one of the reasons I want to do an upgraded master plan in 24-25 is I'd like to see what the trends are, our sewer permit trends over the next 2 to 3 years. Because like I said, for whatever reason, the city projections haven't been materialized. However, we did use what each of the cities provided us.
And then
sorry, one other thing. I do want to say that typically impacts the ultimate flow to our sewer system. We don't know when that's all going to hit. And the nice thing about a master plan is we look at it frequently enough that if we do see changes, we can plan for and provide for expansions and get that through the board and our public and the people that we serve, and actually make sure that we address all of those issues. But right now, it's pretty much status quo.
And then admittedly, I'm by far not an expert in cannabis. So I'm just wondering, is that treated any differently and from maybe other businesses? I honestly don't know.
Well, I guess Canvas, is that referring to the condominium, the very, very large condominium or multifamily project that's going on north of the 405 near the riverbed?
That
Yes.
and all the storefronts that are,
Going to be
coming.
with it and all that. Yes. The city has that in their plan. We have it in our plan. We've actually already reviewed and approved, I'll say sewer plans for that development. Based on that, they are building whatever expansions are required. Fortunately for that particular developments, it's very, very close to the Orange County Sanitation District Regional Trunk. So we didn't need much, I'll say, improvements for that development. So the developer got off, in my opinion, pretty easily because they only have to put in short reaches of sewer to get us to where our discharge point is. And they're large, the OC Sanitation's large sewer right there. It isn't much farther to the treatment plant, so they're not going to have any, I doubt they're going to have any capacity issues as a result from the Canvas project.
and then last question, if I heard you correctly, since 2018, there really hasn't been tweaks to this, maybe a couple minor tweaks. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, it's probably been some minor tweaks. The biggest changes, I think, RBH updated the ADU information from the city back in 2021. Based on some of the rate work that we did specifically for ADUs, we did some updates there, and then we updated the project list based on the rate study. And in fact, our finance officer was asking me for a projection on the CIP layout for the next period of time. And so I'll be using that document, which all that was incorporated in this latest draft.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
I have one question about the permits for the city for the ADUs.
Mhm.
You know how many they've had?
No, I don't. I'm just going by what we, how many we have had. And the city is doing a real good job of electronically, we get probably 85% of the city permits get forwarded to us electronically. We still have, I'm going to say probably about 15% still come hard paper copy. Those probably larger, they're probably larger plans that they don't like to email to us. And then our engineering tech goes out, I'm going to say a couple times a month and goes picks them up. But we're getting the most, if not all, the city permit applications and the plans that go with them. But based on what I'm seeing, we're trending above where we were last year, but it isn't significantly above where we were last year.
Second question, have any of our lines got close to capacities?
No, based on the ADU information the city provided, RBH looked at that and there were about I want to say 5, maybe 6 sewer reaches that back in 2018, they thought, okay, they're marginal, but I guess back in 2018, they installed some flow meters and they verified that based on what's in those lines are fine for right now. So they don't believe that we need to plan for any upgrades yet. That's why I said it could be 5 or 7 years before we're talking about expansions for capacity. Because right now, those sewers, I guess when a sewer reaches half full, it's full. We consider that full for 8-inch sewers, and most of our pipes, 90% of our pipes are probably 8-inch sewers within the city. So as soon as we get to about halfway, we're planning a project, and I would imagine we're going to execute an expansion or something. But none of these sewers, 5 or 6 sewers that were identified, are at that point yet.
We have to pay for that build up of the capacity, or does the builder have to pay for that?
Well, it's not a cut and dry answer. If it, fee that I'll say developer, in the case of a private or single family residential ADU, the fees that they pay us, that goes into a fund that's used to increase the capacity. When we work with large developers, it's a very similar type of thing. We get a check from them that goes into the money for future expansion. And then when it's time for an expansion, that money is used to help offset the cost of that sewer. That being said, the fees that are collected annually from those users are basically to operate, maintain, and repair the current sewer system.
Mark, the state is, talking about gallon per capita rates, 45 to 50s, 55 gallons per day. There's either been some legislation passed or legislation thought about up there. Is that comparable to the 71 gallon per capita?
I don't believe it is. In fact, I don't think that the legislation that's currently being promulgated and some of that is probably already hitting the books wasn't included in this particular master plan. But even if those hit the books, I'm saying by the time more drought measures are taken, more fixtures are mandated, or better, higher efficiency fixtures are mandated, it's going to be a few years. So I think we've got time to get all that worked into our next master plan.
Go ahead.
Back to the discussion. You did say that one metro is included in the plan.
One metro, is
One
that?
metro is the development on the north of the 405.
Yes, it is.
Okay. The other comment I had is, in terms of the ADU, did you say the ADUs have come in less than we expected?
Well, definitely less than what the city projected.
It's no surprise to me. With the cost of building materials and everything, I think a lot of people that were planning on doing ADUs are either waiting for prices to come. So
I don't
it's
know.
not a surprise to me.
I don't know.
I see it with my customers that had talked to me about it and how we were going to insure them and things, and they put all those plans on hold.
Yeah, again, the master plan, this one, the one before it, the one we want to do in another 3 years from now, they all are going to address the ultimate flows. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the new water regulations that are going to be coming out, the ADUs, whether we're going to see an uptick in ADUs, all of that stuff can be reviewed. And in fact, I would hope that water use drops, because that would be helpful to us, and that we may not have to trigger as many expansions as we have in the ultimate build out. I have really no idea when the ultimate build out is going to take place. So we have time. I think we have time to do all of this stuff. I don't see us as any of this is being something that we have to worry about too much. I think the plan is flexible enough that it gets all of our scenarios and we can do everything that we need to do. And in fact, the biggest thing we need to focus on is revitalizing our system, not expansions.
Mr. Moser, did you have comments on this item?
Thank you, President Board. I think the last time I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Jim Moser. I was very pleased to hear Mark say that the lifetime of this master plan is at most 5 years and maybe 3 years, because whenever I see a plan, and this one was not clear what time frame it was for, be planning for ultimate or complete build out. That's a word that always bothers me a little bit when I see that. I think it bothers you too when you see complete build out. Both, I think, the cities of Newport Beach and Costa Mesa have long referred to themselves as being built out cities. And yet the state keeps telling us we're not built out, we can build more. And so I thought when I saw the staff report and what little I glanced at the report, it seemed very naive to me to be planning only for ADUs, because I know in Newport Beach, we have to, in 2 years from now, have the zoning in place for at least 5,000 new dwelling units. And the state is allowing only a small, it's anticipating only a small amount of that growth will come from ADUs. Most of it we have to figure out some other way to do, and we anticipate to achieve the 5,000, it will take many more than that too. So the growth over the 8 years of that plan could be substantial. And then in addition to that, regional housing needs allocation that we have. You have probably also heard, which would affect in Newport Beach, that new housing development would not go in areas served by this district for the most part, but there is an additional wrinkle, which is called SB 9, which allows the subdivision of what are currently single-family home lots and allows multiple dwellings to be built on those. The lot can be split and you can have both a dwelling and an ADU on that. So one can turn into 4. Whether that will happen a whole lot, I don't know, but potentially it could. And again, just like the regional housing needs assessment, the cities have no power to reject that mandate from the state. So Newport Beach recently adopted the ordinance, which I think is going into effect in a couple of weeks. So people in single family lots served by this district could, in theory, turn those into multiple dwellings on each of them. And so this may be realistic for 3 years, but I don't think it's realistic going much beyond that in terms of the growth projections. That's my thought, which I think you share. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. This that the boards of directors vote on adopting the 2018 master plan.
2021. I'll move adoption of the 2018 sewer master plan as presented by staff.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Move on to
We store them here. Do I need to write my name on my copy?
Mark will have a copy in his office.
I'm sure he will. If I take this home, my wife will throw it at me. You got that?
You can get a smaller television to watch the Angels.
No, that's not gonna happen. Just the last comment. Thank you, Mark. This is.
Good job.
Was done well. Appreciate it.
Okay, the passage unanimously will go on to, I don't think we have a treasurer's report. There was one in the consent calendar. Going to item number 8, attorney's reports, adopting the resolution to for continuing the remote meetings. I don't think we need a discussion, but we need a.
I'll make a motion to accept or resolution 2022-971.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll move on to local meetings. I honestly didn't write down my notes from Orange County Sand District meetings. I think it's next Wednesday, but maybe it's already passed.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
It's like, hey, Mike, what are we
I think it was last Wednesday.
I'm gonna look at my calendar and,
It was last Wednesday.
yeah,
I don't know if you're back in town or not.
I was at the meeting. It generally is, actually, they had like we had, considered not having a meeting. They did not have an operations meeting in August or administration committee meeting. So the meeting had probably less on it than our agenda. I'll conclude with that guesstimate. Did SARPA meet?
No, next month is the meeting.
Okay, and Arlene, Director Schaefer's actually had some dental work, and that's logic for why she's not here tonight. So we go on down to Vice President Schaefer, SDRMA meeting.
We did not have a meeting last month other than a special meeting to approve virtual meetings. We did have participation at the recent CSDA conference in balmy Palm Desert. Other than that, really nothing to report.
Okay, then other meetings, I attended Waco and We Rock talked about the COVID status, monkeypox status, and cybersecurity status, and they're all problems. And then they also noted, she noted that there's a growing problem with copper theft again. The Met report was, they're gonna have a massive repair of one of their large lines. And that's going to require that people actually not water. They need substantial water cutbacks to do that major repair on one of their large water mains. And so those residents will not be able to water their lawns for up to 2 weeks. And then there's, of course, with the drought, Aqua is, there's a new AB 2142. Gina, you probably know about that. And it's basically major funding for turf replacement because most of the water at residences are external, which means their lawns. I did attend the CSD conference and I met with consultants for Costa Mesa Sanitary District potential vendors. We discussed several potential vendors whose expertise the district might need. Attended a number of the breakout sessions, and both sessions, so that my ethics training is up to date. And there were 2 very good speakers. One speaker dealt with good anxiety. I thought that was probably the best session, hour-long session that I've ever heard there. I bought the book, and anyone's welcome to it, to read it. And we had 2 awards. Scott Carroll was GM of the year, and Mike Schaefer was board member of the year. I thought they were both gracious accepting the awards.
That's because we didn't pick on you. That's why you-
Yeah, yes. And I would recommend the CSDA never have that session in Palm Springs again. It's just atrocious in 105-degree weather.
Got great rates. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think that was the particular reason why they had it, so.
Only reason it was down there. And the Desert Princess is one of the best resorts now. It's just, or not Desert Princess, Desert Springs. It's a great place. It's a great hotel. But 108 ain't gonna cut.
It's a greater hotel
It's cheap.
during the tourist season.
It was.
Oh, well, they played, and I think they played at sunup. And it was 100 degrees.
Yeah.
Any other meetings that anyone needs to report on?
I turned mine into Nolani for.
Okay. So let's go on to old business. Does any of the directors have any old business that needs to be discussed? And or new business? And then oral communications and directors' comments. I have one question of staff. I think that the August meeting it was partially had because we were going to discuss the CRNR contract. So that is moved out. Do you have a time certain? Do any of the other directors have oral communications or director's comments? Director Eccles?
Thank you, Mr. President. So I guess tag up on that. So at our next study session, is that going to be because I think we had agreed that we wanted to see the monthly average of pickups and missed pickups and all that. So that will that be at our study sessions each month? Okay, great. And then also going to follow up. I had a request a couple meetings ago about with the COLA increase that was approved and where that's going to stack with our comparative entities around the county. Do we have that information yet?
No, I don't. I'll follow up.
Okay, see if we get that at an upcoming session. And then for all those interested OC Senate, OCSD is finally putting some steel up, so you get bored and want to see some fine craftsmanship on steel. Drive on by there, got about 4 or 5 buildings going up over there in the next month, so they scaled it down, but still gonna build, so that'll be some exciting news, and wish everyone a happy Labor Day and a well-deserved day off, hopefully for everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Mike, did you?
Yeah, thank you for the plug about the award. I wish she was here to thank. I mean, Arlene is the one that battered us into this, and it's appreciated. I mean, getting awards like that are very special. I know Scott feels that way as well. Without Arlene pushing and without the outstanding help from 2 young ladies that are sitting here with us this evening, I can't thank you enough. I mean, even my family members called to congratulate me, and that's saying something. I mean, family members, not my kids, they have to thank me, but I mean, relatives. So thank you guys
You
for
told
doing.
them all about it.
Of course I did. Got to brag to somebody, and nobody else is going to listen to you. Thank you guys for all of you. I mean, that whole panel right there. Thank you for contributing to making this job enjoyable and not always easy, but you make it easy to do. And the award, this sounds like an Oscar speech. There was, I don't know how involved you guys are with Little League. You're probably not. But the team from Hawaii won the world championship yesterday. And these kids they could have beaten the Angels. I had no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. All during the preliminaries up to the World Series, these kids from Hawaii wore jerseys that on the back didn't have their names. They had WE, W-E, is greater than M-E. They wore these shirts, and that team believed that we was better than me. And that's how I feel. I mean, this award didn't go to me, it went to all of you. And I can't thank you. And darn it, I wish she was here, and I'll make sure I let her know. But thank you guys for everything you did to get me that award. Didn't get me any money, but it got me a nice little trophy. So thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
So you have room for the trophy, you don't have room for this book?
Trophy's a lot smaller than this book for me. And the only thing that upset me was Scott's trophy is bigger than. It is. Yes, it is.
Size doesn't matter, Mike.
Yeah, size never matters, right? Thank you. Also to my colleagues up here for all you do. Appreciate it.
And both awards were well deserved.
Thank you. Rob. Thank you very much.
Anything else? Oral communications director's comments? If not, I'll adjourn this session. Thank you very much for all your participation.
Let me plug it.
Oh, my wife caught me